this myth right here. And the myth here says, do artificial colors or sugar cause ADHD or hyperactivity? ADHD is actually attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. That is what ADHD means. And this is what experts are saying considering this. Once again, the question is, do artificial colors or sugar cause ADHD or hyperactivity? I don't know if you heard people say this, that if you give a child too much sugar, or if you give them too much sugary drinks, they become very, very active. They'll be jumping up and down, jumping off the walls and jumping on couches and doing all sorts and jumping up and down. I know you've heard this before. I have heard this before as well. Esther, have you heard that before?
I think I have.
Yeah. So the medical experts, what they say about this is this. They are saying that anyone who's ever fed a kid an ice cream cone has witnessed the wind up toy effect. Sugar sets kids careening into everything in sight. Sugars and carbohydrates cause a fast spike in blood sugar because they're easy to digest. And that can trigger an adrenaline response. And they're saying it's a temporary effect. What goes up must come down. And a sugared up kid in action will inevitably crash. There is no evidence, however, of a link between sugar and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, a behavioral disorder that affects about 10% of school children. So what they're saying here, that there is no evidence whatsoever that there's a link between sugar and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Yes. So let's move on to the next and the myth we're going to move on to now is about high fever and brain damage. So go on, Esther will, give us information about that one.
So, this question: can a high fever cause brain damage, or how high is the fever? When do you call a fever too high? So, only extreme fevers of about 108 degrees and above can cause brain damage, and fevers that high are very, very rare. Now, not all fevers need treatment. A fever is just the body's way of fighting off infection, and even a relatively high one doesn't necessarily need to be treated. More important than the number on the thermometer is your child's comfort. Make sure your child is getting enough fluids, as fever can lead to dehydration. Even for adults too, when you feel unwell, you
Mhm.
just feel some kind of way in your body.
Yes.
So I can imagine what it will feel like for a child.
Mm.
Then, if your child is having a fever, a lukewarm bath can also be helpful, but never treat a fever with a very cold bath, because fever itself causes discomfort, and an icy cold bath may make the main problem worse. So you will need to see a doctor, because even a mild fever in a very, very young child can be a sign of serious medical condition.
Mm.
So, in as much as we're saying that not all fever needs to be treated, for infants, toddlers, you need to see a doctor for them. Don't just assume that all is well with the child and just ignore.
Yes, and that is according to medical experts.
Mm.
And remember, we're citing information from a credible health website. As a matter of fact, childrenshospital.org, childrenscolorado.org, and that's where we're getting information from. And we're talking about and bursting health myths surrounding children's health. Let's move on to another one here. And this is about, let's see here. The question is an ear infection contagious? Does it always need antibiotics? Is an ear infection contagious? Does it always need antibiotics? And what they're saying here, what the medical experts are saying here, is that ear infections happen when the eustachian tube, which connects the middle ear to the back of the nose, gets blocked, usually as a result of a cold. Blockage causes the tube to fill with fluid, and if that fluid gets infected, things can get pretty painful. Ear infections themselves are not at all contagious and can't be spread. However, the colds that often lead to ear infections are very contagious. So they're going on to say that ear infections may be viral or bacterial, and since there's no way to easily access fluid in the middle ear behind the eardrum, it's difficult even for a medical professional to tell which is which. If you suspect your child has an ear infection, and 90% of kids will have one at some point, 20% of kids frequently, the best thing to do is to pay a visit to your doctor and let him or her recommend the most appropriate course of treatment. And with this right here, parents are so quick whenever they think there's an infection whatsoever. If you feel your child has developed an infection, the least you want to do is to go ahead and buy an over-the-counter drug, or maybe buy an over antibiotics, what they're saying here is go to a medical doctor for treatment. Do not diagnose your child yourself. And I think it's a very, very valid point right there. Stop diagnosing your children yourselves. I know as caring mothers, as caring fathers, you just want to quickly do something fast, but hold on and go and see your doctor so that you can get a proper diagnosis. The program you're still listening to is Radio Doctor on WFM 91.7.
Without doctor's prescription, Montenuma, all on doctor's attention. If you need solution, Montenuma. Much is given, much is expected. Live long and stay strong. Talk it out when you know. Live long and stay strong. Talk it out when you know. It was at the day. Aláboyún ẹ̀ múra o. Ó bá ṣe bí ẹni bẹ́ẹ̀, àbí ojú máa ṣú. Aláboyún ò ní bóbi náà tọ́lé lọ, ọ̀gá sí ìlú. Onígbélé ra lọ́rọ̀, àgbo ṣe dáadáa bá lábòjú ṣùgbọ́n. Ẹgbẹ́ máa ṣe kí o sọ sílẹ̀ o. Ẹ ò gbọ́dọ̀ tó kù o, ẹ ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ tó kí o. Live long and stay strong. Talk it out when you know. Live long and stay strong. Talk it out when you know. Ìmọ́tótó ló lè ṣẹ́gun àrùn gbogbo. Ẹ̀fọn tó gbòòrò ló ń wá àwọn tó rẹ̀rọ. Kẹ́kọ̀ọ́ lè gbà tó sọ́ọ̀bù tó kó. Cleanliness is essential. Utilize your potential. Understand the crimes and your initial. You wanna live long and stay strong. Talk it out when you know. Live long and stay strong. Talk it out when you know. Live long and stay strong. Talk it out when you know. Live long and stay strong. Talk it out when you know.
Radio Doctor on WFM 91.7 every Monday from 10 to 11 a.m. brings you medical experts specialized in children's health.
Studies have shown that children that were abruptly stopped from breastfeeding tend to have some emotional trauma.
Call Call in to get free consultation on children's health on 07000 917 917 or 090 256 25455. You can send in questions, cases, and related contributions on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at WFM 917. Text and WhatsApp on 070 317 56537. You can listen live online at www.wfm917.com. Radio Doctor, Nigeria's first free consultation radio health program on WFM 91.7, the voice of women.
Radio Doctor is still the program you're listening to on WFM 91.7. Radio Doctor, your free health consultation program where real doctors advise real people. And Radio Doctor is Nigeria's first specialized radio health program on Women Radio WFM 91.7, broadcast from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Monday through Fridays. And each day is dedicated to a medical specialty with an expert of consultation and advice. The medical specialty we're focusing on today was usually what we treat on Mondays as children's health. That is what we're doing today. Although we do not have a real doctor, what we're doing this morning is to share some valuable health information from credible health sources. And you could always verify this information from your medical doctors. And also, to let you know, just a quick disclaimer that we are not medical doctors in any way, shape, or form. We are just sharing this information with you from credible health sources. You can always verify, once again, verify this information with your medical doctors. Yes, I am still Timmy Tokwe Ululeye. It is 37 minutes to 11, and I still have here with me Esther Alaribe, and we're still sharing with you information on the myths surrounding children's health. We've been able to go ahead to bust those myths, get information from my experts. So experts have been able to burst some myths already, and we already shared that information with you. And we'll move ahead because we're going to be sharing 8 with you. We're going to be bursting 8 myths. And so we already started with about 3 myths so far. Moving on to the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th. And these myths are being busted by medical professionals, medical doctors. So let's move on now to some more myths being busted by some medical experts. Let's move on to the 4th one.
Yeah, so this one is, can a child grow out of a psychiatric disorder? Now, the short answer is no. Although with early intervention treatment, many children and adolescents can learn to manage and even overcome their symptoms. Now, not all psychiatric disorders are intense, such as depression, anxiety, eating orders, ADHD. This kind of psychiatric disorders tend to manifest their symptoms before age 14. And these symptoms without treatment tend to worsen in adulthood. Children typically respond to treatment better and more quickly than adults. So seeking treatment early for your child is the best way towards a positive outcome. Then other difficult behaviors common in young children, such as non-compliance, hyperactivity, sleep resistance, and trouble at school. It can also affect a child's potential success. Many children can benefit from a brief professional intervention, which can improve the parent-child relationship and also decrease the likelihood of more extensive treatment while when the child turns an adult. So this goes to say that when you notice certain issues in your child, be sure to seek medical advice on time, because you might just think it's nothing to worry about, and when the child grows up, it becomes something more complicated that you should have just treated if you had noticed. So this is time to take your child to see doctors. It could be maybe therapists, but just start early looking for solutions towards these issues. Now, not all behaviors actually need treatment. Symptoms of a psychiatric disorder often include changes in sleep patterns, irritability, shifts in social habits, changes in appearance or hygiene, changes in weight or appetite. Now, these are just symptoms of changes due to being a teenager. So it necessarily doesn't need like a whole lot of treatment and all, but you just get to know that this is the phase where the child is transiting into being a teenager to an adult and all of that. But if you feel like these cases are more intense, you should speak to somebody on time to see if you can get solution before this child grows into an adult and it becomes something to worry about.
Yes, indeed, and just you should always also make sure that even if it's not even intense, you have any doubts, always go and seek medical professionals. Always ask for the proper doctor you need to see if there's psychiatric issues, possibly a psychiatrist or a psychologist, or just make sure you seek professional medical advice. All right, we'll move on to another myth here. And the question is, does green snot, now snot is the mucus that comes out of maybe the nose and what have you. So that's what it means. So the question is, does green snot always mean infection? Does green snot always mean infection? All right, contrary to popular belief, green or yellow in the phlegm is not the color of bacteria. And that's what we usually think, that maybe when your child is coughing out phlegm or mucus, once you see a change in color, because the usual color, I guess, is the transparent. I guess it's transparent. But if you see yellow or another color, you start getting worried that maybe it's a bacterial infection. What they're saying is, rather, it's the effect of a greenish colored enzyme produced by white blood cells, which in large numbers can give your child's mucus that delightful hue. And they say greenish mucus then is an indication of the immune system kicking into high gear, and a ramped up immune system could indicate some kind of infection, whether viral or bacterial. They're saying that not all infections produce the same effect, however, and the bad infection can easily come with snot that's crystal clear. Okay, so I'm even wrong. What I say right now is even not correct. What they're saying is a bad infection can even come with a snot or mucus that is even crystal clear. All right, so I've been corrected right there. So what they're saying is look for a collection of symptoms such as coughing, fever, congestion, and sinus pressure rather than just one. And this is coming from Leslie Austin, a medical doctor, an emergency medicine doctor. All right. So I'm sure you learned a lot of things than what they said there, that about bacterial infection, about if you see mucus from your child and it's colored, they're saying that it might not necessarily mean infection per se. So, and also, even if you have crystal clear mucus, your child might have a bad infection. So it still goes back to what they're saying here, is always seek professional medical counsel advice. Always see your doctor. Don't just assume anything. Okay, so let's move on to the sixth one now. And this is about lice in children. Yes.
This one says, how does lice spread? Are home remedies effective? Now, contrary to the popular belief, lice cannot jump. They are not even as fast as crawling. And in fact, it is very, very hard to pass lice from one person to the other without sustained hair-to-hair contact, such as leaving a situation or sleepovers. Now, children can get very, very careless when they get to play, mix up with anybody. They can just get combs from anybody and just put it in their own hair and all of that. So this goes to show that parents need to be more careful in caring for their children, ensure you look through their bodies very well. And home remedies here can be effective, although they are unproven to be effective. Remember, we're not doctors, we're just giving out tips from credible websites. Some studies have shown that natural plants such as tea tree oil, I know that one for myself, but you should be able to speak to your doctor to find out if that works. I know tea tree oil works for lice and dandruff. When applied or mixed with another kind of cooling oil, yes, it works for that. Then you can have simple oil, home-based oil like olive oil and butter, and it can help reduce the effect of lice and nits in your hair. Some people use other stuff, but just get to find out from your doctor what is going to work for you. Then your best bet sometimes first is to get over-the-counter lice shampoo. So if you can get a shampoo, you can just go to a pharmacy or a store and tell them the kind of issue you're having with your hair or your child's hair. They'll definitely will give you something they think will be good for it. But if that doesn't work, at that point, you need to take your child to see the pediatrician, or even if it is you as an adult, you need to see your doctor. But these are things that, and please, on no account should you try to use any kind of pesticide on your hair, because I've heard a lot of stories, I choose to call them silly, where people try to put in different kind of things in their hair. And I even know of one that the stuff she put in her hair later started choking her, and she landed in the hospital just because she didn't want to go through the normal procedure of having to see a doctor, because she felt it was just like it wasn't something serious. But for every issue you have with your child, it is something serious. Even as an adult, ensure you see your doctor before you just apply or use anything like that.
Yeah, I'm glad you raised that point actually, because I came across a story of a lady who passed away actually. I think she had lice in her hair, and she wanted to use a very, very strong chemical to remove the lice. And she ended up, I guess, inhaling that chemical, and she passed away, as a matter of fact, from that. So that's a very, very valid point right there, that you should be very, very careful. Like they say, you can either get an over-the-counter lice shampoo, and if that doesn't work, ask your pediatrician. Don't use put it on your children's hair or head. It's very, very dangerous. Now let's move on to another myth here that experts are debunking for us. Let's move on to this one. And it says, is ingesting a foreign object always an emergency? Is ingesting a foreign object always an emergency? And they're saying that kids swallow stuff, and a lot of it, like small plastic toy pieces or coins, can pass easily through the intestines and will work its way out in the child's stool without a problem. I came across a very, very scary situation at my daughter's school. I believe it was last year. This child swallowed the head of a biro. I think it went through his nose.
Oh,
It
like
was
he
stuck-
sniffed it.
Yeah, it was stuck in his nose. It was so scary. I was so scared. I was just like, call the doctor, call the doctor, call the doctor. And I don't know, they were able to eventually
Get it
remove it.
out.
But if I was actually, maybe one of the teachers or the principal, I would have said, just quickly rush this child. And that's what I was saying.
Hospital.
That's what I kept on insisting, rush this child to the hospital. But they removed it. Thank heavens the child is okay. But then again, so what experts are saying here is that, as a general rule, though, if a child swallows something that is not food, it's a good idea to seek medical help. If the object in question is interfering with the child's breathing, try to dislodge it with the Heimlich maneuver. Now, the Heimlich maneuver is not something that we can share with you. You can ask your doctor about the Heimlich maneuver. Or they're saying, go to the nearest emergency department as quickly as possible. They're also saying that laundry pods and button batteries are potentially life-threatening. Now, I don't know if you know about those button batteries that you normally see inside. What do you normally see it inside? Let me see it inside. Is it some toys, I think?
Yeah, some toys have it. Some kind of remotes also have it. So
yes, laundry pods, especially made detergents, that they put it in literally to like sachets, like polythene, like it's like a nylon, but it's very, very small and tight. And they use, whenever you want to do your laundry using washing machine, you put it inside the washing machine, and it's to help to wash your clothes. So that's what laundry pods are. But button batteries, like I say, those tiny batteries that look like buttons. What they're
I
saying
think they
here,
call them finger batteries or something.
Okay. What they're saying that it is very, very life-threatening, and if swallowed, and should be kept out of reach. Because a lot of times when you read the packaging on batteries or for things that are very dangerous for kids, they would say keep out of reach of children. So all those things, please be very, very careful with them. If you suspect your child has swallowed either of these items, head to the nearest emergency department immediately. Okay. And there's so many things that kids can swallow, but if you notice that your child has swallowed something, go to the emergency immediately. It needs immediate attention. This is also coming from Leslie Austin, a medical doctor from the emergency medicine department. So let's move on to, but before, I think we should let you know that also you can also have the opportunity to please always send in your contributions, your opinions. We always love to hear you, your thoughts on any of our programs. So you can go ahead and send a text or WhatsApp message to 070 317-565-3770. 317-565-3770. We want to just share your opinion on this topic. We are happy to have you send in your text messages. Let's move on to the next one.
So this one says, are home remedies an effective treatment for burns? When things happen in the house, and for what I know, children are very, very fast. You might try to keep a child away from the kitchen before you know they find their way into the kitchen. So things like burn are actually inevitable if you don't have maybe an extra hand in the house to help you out with the kids. So now we have been told that the only effective home remedy for burns is immediate soaking in water, cold water. Cold water. So maybe your child gets a burn, or you just notice a kind of burn, just dip that hand or whatever part of the body in cold water. Avoid eyes. Fine, you might think ice is also water and it's cool, it has this cooling effect, but we have been told that it could delay healing. So cold water is your best bet. Never apply any form of grease, butter, or powder to a burn, as these so-called remedies actually make the problem worse. So when you have a burn, no powder, no grease, no butter, just cold water. Then try not to rub that spot. If you rub the spot, it will increase the blistering and it might even get maybe water coming out. So try not to rub it. For mild burn, which look a lot like maybe a sunburn, just run it under cold water will do the trick. Then if the burn is a larger one, apply cold water and try to remove any clothing around the burn and seek immediate medical attention. If left untreated, it could lead to scarring. It could cause an effect. You could get an infection. It could cause dehydration. So you don't want any of this. So the moment you see that the burn is something more than you can attend to in the house, please see a medical expert to help you out in it. And especially with children, you know, the thing with children, whenever they have an injury, all of their attention is going to be focused on that place. So you don't want the child maybe poking it or doing something else that might lead to more danger. So just see the doctor immediately, and that will help.
Yes, and I'm glad that the medical doctors were able to dispel that myth, because especially here in Nigeria, when the child has a burn, or if you have a burn generally, I've heard so many things. Some will say put that apply maybe cold pap.
Yes, I've
or
heard
something.
that too. I've heard raw egg too.
Raw egg, yes. I think I've also heard about
I've heard about
maybe shea butter as well.
Yes,
I heard about shea butter as well, and so many different remedies that people think would work. But what they're saying is it should be the go-to. Should be the go-to. I haven't heard. Did someone even told me something before? And I think I had a cut or something, and the person was saying something like I should dip it in kerosene or something. You know, people say a lot of stuff that are just very, very untrue. And so everything we've been saying all together here on this program this morning is that you should always seek for professional medical advice. And so that will be, because I've already gone through 8 already about your child's health today. All this information we shared we shared with you, and they were the ones that were able to put this together public, and that's what we're doing to educate you as well, because we do have a real doctor with us in the studio. So hopefully tomorrow we'll be able to have a real doctor with us in the studio who would also, as always, be there to answer your general health questions you have about your health. Please tune in tomorrow at 10 a.m. for another episode of Reader Doctor. But today we just wanted to just share some very educational information on some myths surrounding children's health. Well, thank you so much for being part of the program this morning. Remember, Reader Doctor comes up tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. It is your free health consultation program where real doctors advise real people. And also, Reader Doctor is Nigeria's first specialized radio health program on Women Radio WFM 91.7. I am Timmy Tokwe Oluleye. Thank you so much for listening.
Yes, my name is Esther Alarabe. Good morning.
Good morning, and do have a nice day.
Radio Doctor and WFM 91.7 every Monday from 11 a.m. brings you medical experts specialized in children's health.
Studies have